In the dim quiet of early morning, Don Quixote's house felt strangely peaceful, far too peaceful for the chaos the previous days had brought. The knight lay sleeping in his room, recovering from wounds both real and imagined. While he rested, the curate and the barber arrived at the house with determined faces, prepared to confront the root of his madness. They did not come to speak with him. Instead, they came for the one place they believed held the key to his undoing: his library. The curate requested the keys from the niece, who surrendered them with relief, as though the weight of the books themselves had been pressing upon her shoulders. Together, the group, curate, barber, niece, and housekeeper, walked to the locked room. When the door swung open, they stood at its threshold, stunned by the sheer number of books. Volumes lined the shelves from floor to ceiling, heavy tomes with gilded spines, smaller ones stacked in crooked piles, and every one of them, in their minds, guilty. The housekeeper recoiled as though she'd stumbled upon a chamber of sorcery. She sprinted from the room, returning with a bowl of holy water and a sprinkler, insisting they purify the space before any evil lurking within could retaliate. The thought of vengeful enchantments seemed ridiculous to the curate, yet the sincerity of her fear made him laugh. He motioned for the barber to begin handing him the books, one by one, determined to judge each according to its merit, if any merit remained at all. The curate lifted the first book the barber handed him and inspected the title with a frown. It was one of the oldest and most famous books of chivalry, Amadis of Gaul. He sighed heavily, for he knew this story had inspired countless imitators, each wilder and more extravagant than the last. It pained him to admit it, but this was the very cornerstone of Don Quixote's madness. Yet, with reluctance, he spared it. He claimed it deserved temporary mercy only because of its age and influence, though the niece muttered that no mercy should be granted to any such book. The next book did not share the same fate. It was the tale of Esplandian, son of Amadis, and the curate immediately condemned it. Without hesitation, he ordered the housekeeper to throw it into the yard to begin the pyre. She obeyed with joy, as though ridding the house of a venomous creature. The book flew through the window and landed with a heavy thud in the courtyard below. From there, the judgments came quickly. The curate rejected Amadis of Greece and its countless companions. He dismissed their tangled plots, their extravagant exaggerations, and the absurdity that seemed to multiply with every generation of chivalric heroes. One after another, the barber handed him the books, and one after another, the curate condemned them. The niece watched with satisfaction, the housekeeper with burning enthusiasm, and the barber with a mixture of boredom and curiosity. Each book that landed in the yard felt like another step toward curing Don Quixote's fevered imagination. They believed that if the library fell, the fantasy would crumble with it. The old stone corridor shook again, dust drifting from the ceiling as Mikoto steadied herself. The echo of Kuja's laughter lingered like a stain on the air. She pushed forward, her footsteps soft but determined, the worn floor cold beneath her boots. Torches flickered on the walls, casting long shadows that twisted like living things. For a moment, she hesitated. Something felt wrong. The magic in the atmosphere crackled unnaturally, as if the very air was resisting her presence. She clenched her fists, letting her own aura rise to meet it. The corridor responded with a sharp pulse, almost like a warning. Mikoto ignored it. She continued. At the next bend, she caught sight of a doorway half open, warm golden light spilling through it. She approached slowly, bracing herself. A breath escaped her lips when she saw what lay inside. A memory room. Crystal panels hovered in midair, displaying scenes from a past she had never lived but had inherited through design. Scenes of Zidane fighting, laughing, saving others. Scenes of Kuja burning worlds, spiraling in chaos. And in the center of the room, a single crystal hovered brighter than the rest, pulsing like a heartbeat. Mikoto stepped toward it, reaching out. Her fingers trembled before they touched the surface. And then, The crystal shattered. Shards of the broken crystal hovered in the air, suspended as if time itself hesitated. Each fragment still pulsed with faint light, and every pulse sent a memory flickering across the room. Zidane standing tall, Kuja falling into madness, the genomes waiting silently in their chambers. Mikoto's breath caught. None of these memories belonged to her, yet they echoed inside her chest with painful familiarity. She stepped back as the shards vibrated, their light turning sharper, colder. A low hum followed, rising like a warning siren. The floor beneath her shifted. A circular glyph illuminated under her feet, ancient patterns swirling through the stone. She froze. The glyph activated, filling the room with a rising column of light. Mikoto shielded her face as the brilliance overwhelmed everything. When the glow finally dimmed, she found herself standing in a different chamber. Vast, metallic, perfectly symmetrical. It was the heart of Terra's forgotten core. The silence pressed against her ears. Something was waiting here, watching. The metallic chamber hummed with dormant power. Towering pillars encircled her, each engraved with runes she recognized but could not fully decipher. They whispered to her, voices woven from Terra's memories. Mikoto closed her eyes, letting the sounds wash over her. A strange calm filled her mind, but beneath it she sensed something else. Fear. Not her own. The chamber itself trembled faintly, as though resisting a presence that did not belong. A shadow appeared at the far end of the hall, tall, graceful, wrong. Its shape wavered like it was made from liquid metal. It did not walk. It glided, distortions trailing behind it. Mikoto stepped backward instinctively, fingers tightening as she summoned her magic. The shadow tilted its head, observing her with empty, glowing eyes. Then, in a voice too smooth to be real, it whispered, "You are late." The temperature dropped instantly. The shadow creature raised an arm, its movements too fluid to be natural. The air tightened around Mikoto as invisible pressure pushed her backward. She dug her boots into the metal floor and forced her aura to flare, breaking the crushing force with a burst of blue energy. The shadow recoiled slightly, its form rippling like disturbed water. For the first time, it seemed surprised. Mikoto didn't wait. She darted forward, palms glowing with concentrated magic. She struck the creature's chest, releasing a burst of force that cracked its form like fractured glass. The creature staggered, but instead of collapsing, it reformed instantly, its body bending into sharper angles. It lunged at her with blinding speed. Mikoto spun aside, narrowly avoiding a blade-like arm that sliced clean through a metal pillar. "I won't let you stop me," she muttered, her voice low but steady. The chamber shook violently as the creature shifted tactics. Its body elongated, splitting into three mirroring forms that circled Mikoto with predatory precision. Their movements were synchronized, their glowing eyes tracking her every breath. Mikoto steadied her stance, analyzing their rhythm. They moved like echoes, delayed by a fraction of a heartbeat. That was her opening. She launched herself straight toward the central figure. As expected, the outer forms reacted too late. Mikoto spun midair, channeling energy into a spiraling kick that shattered the central creature into streaming particles of light. The remaining two screeched, not with sound, but with a psychic shockwave that made her knees buckle. Her vision blurred, but she grit her teeth, forcing her mind to stay anchored. "Your echoes won't stop me." The psychic pressure intensified, but Mikoto forced her aura outward in a pulse that cracked the floor beneath her. The remaining shadows staggered, their forms flickering violently. She took the chance and slammed her palms into the ground, summoning a surge of energy that erupted upward like a geyser of light. The blast engulfed both creatures, dissolving them into shimmering dust. Silence returned, but not peace. A deep rumbling rose from the chamber's core. The runes on the pillars brightened one by one, igniting the entire room in a cascade of blue fire. Mikoto looked up as the ceiling opened, petals of metal folding back like a mechanical flower. Beyond it, an enormous crystal, Terra's pulse core, glowed with overwhelming radiance. She felt its call and its warning. The pulse core pulsed like a beating heart, its glow washing the chamber in waves of silver-blue light. Mikoto felt the frequency of it vibrating through her bones. It was the central memory, the anchor of Terra's consciousness, and the reason Kuja had returned. She stepped forward slowly, each step resonating through the floor. As she neared the crystal, faint images swirled within it. A world collapsing, a man falling, a sister reaching out for a future not yet written. She raised her hand toward the crystal. Before her fingers touched it, a voice echoed behind her, soft, melodic, dangerous. Still chasing answers that don't want you. Mikoto froze. She didn't need to turn around to know whose voice it was. Mikoto exhaled slowly, steadying the tremble in her fingers. She turned. Kuja stood at the edge of the chamber, framed by the glow of the pulse core. His expression was unreadable, neither cruel nor gentle, but something in between, as if he couldn't decide what face to wear. His silver hair flowed like liquid light, and his purple eyes shimmered with mockery. "You always arrive just as things become interesting," he said lightly, drifting closer rather than walking. Each step of his felt too graceful, too untouched by gravity. Mikoto didn't retreat. "This ends today." Kuja placed a hand over his heart and gave a theatrical bow. "Then do try to make it memorable." The pulse core throbbed behind them, as if anticipating the coming clash.